Welcome in, Bills Mafia, and welcome back to another edition of the Go Bills podcast here on YouTube, as well as on all our other social media platforms. I am your host, Brett. Glad to be with you on this Monday night, talking about our Buffalo Bills, who have defeated the Miami Dolphins 32-29. We're going to give you our game recap, talk about the good things, the bad things, as well as the injury report for the Buffalo Bills. Talk about a few other things, as well as give our game balls out for the game. But first and foremost, Bills Mafia, we are back in the playoffs for the fourth year in a row. It feels great to be back in the playoffs. We are back where we belong, back year in and year out. And man, does it feel good. Buffalo, we're in first place in the division. Not only first place in the division, but we're also in first place in the AFC. 3 games left to go. 3 games left where we can control our own destiny on how we get to the playoffs and where the home field advantage is going to go through. And it belongs going through Orchard Park, New York. I am your host again. As I said, Brett, glad to be with you. As always, if this is your first time watching our show, don't forget to like and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter, as well as on our new website, gobillspodcast.com. You can find all our content on there as well. You can also find our upcoming schedule with all our shows that we're going to be doing throughout the week, different events that we're going to do, like collaborating with different hosts as well as you'll also know a little bit more about myself and my family as well. So don't forget to go on to our website and tune into that as well. Let's go over the Week 15 matchup between the Miami Dolphins and Buffalo Bills, a division matchup where the first game, the Miami Dolphins defeated the Buffalo Bills 21-19, and it was a drive where Buffalo was driving down the field. They had some time on the clock. Isaiah McKenzie just couldn't get out of bounds. He couldn't clock the ball in time. Buffalo ended up losing. You saw what happened in the with Ken Dorsey, where he was throwing his papers around. He was upset and visibly upset. You could tell that happening. It was on CBS where you saw the frustration. And in this matchup, Buffalo came out of the guns blazing. They had a really good game plan going in with Ken Dorsey. And I really liked what I saw from the Bills offense overall. I know many people would say the third quarter was rough, and I do agree the third quarter was rough. But I really do like what I saw from the Bills overall in this game. Like I said, really good things from the Bills offense. Starting with Josh Allen, he looked really good in this game, making really key plays, especially in the fourth quarter of the game, where he was 5 of 7 in the fourth quarter, making really good throws, hitting different receivers, and also putting the game on his not only his arm, but also on his legs, too. There was a drive in the second half where Buffalo ran a 15-play drive to go down the field and get a touchdown. There's a 65-yard drive where they went down the field, got the touchdown, and it made a big impact on the game as well. Another good thing that I saw out of this team was the ability to keep the close games in check and to be able to come out of this game with a win. Overall, Buffalo this year has done a really good job in close games. Over the last few weeks, there's been 4 games where it was a one possession game. Buffalo came out of those games 4 for 4, getting all 4 of those wins, which has been better than last season where Buffalo was struggling with that and where they couldn't win close games. But they're finally able to win those close games. And I think that not only does that help us this season, but it'll also help us in the playoffs when the game could be on the line on the last drive where Buffalo is going to go out. They're going to have to drive down the field and they're going to have to execute. So I really like that that's going on not only in the regular season, but it'll help us in the playoffs as well. Another good thing I really liked out of this game was the play of Dawson Knox. I really liked what he was doing in this game, and this is the second straight week that he was led Bills receivers in catches as well as yards. He led the team with 6 catches for 98 yards as well as a touchdown in this game. and he's starting to come along, and he's also becoming another asset for this team and another target for Josh Allen to utilize in the middle of the field as well. And I know that many people would say that he hasn't appeared to be the same player that he was last year. And while there's a lot of stuff that's going off the field with him, losing his brother in the offseason and all the other stuff, the injuries and stuff like that he's gone through, it is good to see that Dawson is finally back, and he's another asset to this Bills team. Overall, really did like what I saw out of Tre'Davious White too. He did a really good job in coverage, being able to go up against Tyreek Hill, and I really liked the matchup that he provided, where he was going up against Tyreek Hill, and he played really good coverage, press man coverage, as well as zone coverage as well, where they're playing cover two coverage as well, being able to make a big impact on this game as well. Bear with me, guys, as I get through this. I have a little bit of a illness, and I'm trying to get through it as well. So if you see me drinking a lot of Gatorade during this podcast, I'm trying to keep my electrolytes up as the podcast goes along. There's been some red tide in the area. I'm currently in Florida, and there's been some red tide in the area, so my throat is pretty bad right now, and it hurts like crazy. So bear with me as I go through this show. As I was saying about Tre'Davious White, really liked what I saw out of him, not only in the coverage as well as in the run game, where he came down and he was making a big impact for the Bills as well. He was doing a really good job going up against Tyreek Hill as well as Jalen Waddle. And although he did get burnt on that touchdown drive, I do really like what I saw from him. I know that he's only going to get better as the season goes on, and he's battling the ACL injury, trying to get his footing back. So it's good to see him making an impact and having really good plays for the Bills this week. Let's see real quick. He did have in this game, he had 3 tackles in the game. So I really do like what I saw from him. It's good to see that he was on the stat board and making an impact in the game as well. Another area I really liked what I saw from the Bills was the ability for all the defensive linemen to step up in place of Von Miller. Shaq Lawson had a sack in the game, 1 sack against his former team, as well as Daquan Jones and Matt Milano contributing with another sack in the game. So I really did like seeing that the different defensive linemen stepped up in this game, made an impact on the game as well. As for the bad things that I saw in this game, and this has been the case for a few weeks for Buffalo, is in the run game where the Bills aren't able to tackle. They're not staying in their holes. They're not maintaining their gaps. And it's just been the story of the season. And Sean McDermott was asked about it, I believe, today. And he talked about it where he said that he needs to give the Bills better personnel to be able to run in those situations. And I do agree with him. I don't think that we were in the right personnel on those plays. And I think that we need to start to develop different personnels to be able to stop the run in these cases. So I think that that's an area that Buffalo will need to improve on. And I think that they'll figure it out as the season goes on, especially when the playoffs come alive. You got to make sure that you're being able to run the right personnel in this game. Buffalo did give up just under 200 yards in the run game as well, 136 to Raheem Mostert on 17 carries. So that's an average of 8 yards per carry. You got to figure that out, and you got to get it better because the playoffs are coming around and you're giving up 8 yards per carry. We're going to get destroyed in the playoffs if that happens. So we got to get it figured out. Salvin Ahmed had 6 carries for 43 yards, 7.2 average, and a touchdown as well. So you got to get it figured out. I believe the average for the game was just around 6 yards per carry on the run game for the Miami Dolphins. So we got to get that figured out. Other areas, I would say the injuries. The injuries have been hurting the Bills this season. And the injuries, especially on the offensive line, have hurt Buffalo this week. Losing right guard Ryan Bates before the game with a calf injury, as well as Mitch Morse during the game with a concussion. That's two major injuries to the right side and the middle of the offensive line. And you could tell the difference between having Mitch Morse out there and Ryan Bates out there versus not having either one of them out there. Greg Van Roten was the center for the game. When he came in, David Quisenberry had to move over to right guard, and it was a different story throughout the game. You could tell the difference. Like I said, there was a few plays where there was a few snaps, especially from Van Roten, where Josh wasn't comfortable with the snaps, and it almost made a disruption on the play. Luckily, it didn't. But you could tell the difference between Mitch Morse being out there and Greg Van Roten being out there. Now, the good news for Buffalo is they will get back another offensive lineman, and they have reinstated Ike Butker to the active roster, and they have released Brandon Bryant, defensive tackle, from the roster. So they are gaining another guard back on the roster. So that could potentially fill the void where Ryan Bates was, or it might fill the void. And you can also, when Ryan Bates comes back, you can move him inside to play center, which would be a pretty good move for Buffalo to do. Other things that I think Buffalo I will say another thing that Buffalo did a good job on that I didn't mention earlier was I really liked that what Buffalo did, especially as the game was winding down, where they had the ball going down the field. They had the ball on the 10-yard line, and then there was a play where Devin Singletary could have scored an easy touchdown, but he was smart. He went down, which you could tell that he went down, and Josh Allen took the knee. And it was really about the clock management throughout the game. And I do commend the Bills for what they did in that situation, because last year, I think Buffalo would have scored. There would have been about 25 seconds on the clock. You're giving Tua in the offense another chance to win the game. And the odds are not in our favor in some of those categories, especially with having Tyreek Hill out there, who's one of the fastest receivers in the NFL, as well as Jalen Waddle, giving that offense another opportunity to go down the field and potentially score and tie up the game. So I commend Buffalo for taking the 3 points and not going after the touchdown in that case. That was a really good decision, and I really liked what I saw from the Bills, especially as a team, and not being selfish and taking the touchdown. So really good things that I saw from the Bills. Let's go over the AFC East standings for this week. We'll go over how everybody did this week, starting with the New England Patriots, who lost I would say a heartbreaker on a very unusual play that you see from the New England Patriots, where Jacoby Myers was lateraling the ball, trying to go across the field on the last play, and he ended up throwing the ball to Chandler Jones, a former Patriot, where Chandler Jones stiff-armed Mac Jones, and he took it back for a touchdown. Patriots ended up losing the game 30-24, and their chances of making the playoffs have dwindled a little bit because of it. The New York Jets lost to the Lions this week, 20-17, and they did have Zach Wilson in the game, playing in the game. He went 18 of 35 for 317 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. So he did come back, but that interception was an ugly interception that was almost ran back for a touchdown in the game. So it was bad to see that. But overall, the whole entire AFC East has lost the game on Buffalo, as all of them have lost. Buffalo now moves to 11-3 this year. The Miami Dolphins moved to 8-6. The New England Patriots, as well as the New York Jets, are 7-7, and they are right at the playoff bubble, so could potentially not be in the playoffs as well. Let's go over the week 16 for both teams, or for all teams in the AFC East. as well. We'll start with the Miami Dolphins, who will be taking on the Green Bay Packers at home on Sunday at 1 p.m. The New York Jets will be taking on the Jaguars. Just bear with me 1 second. I want to pull it up. The New York Jets will be taking on the Jaguars at home at 8:15 on Thursday night. New England Patriots will be taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. That game will be played on Saturday at 1 p.m. And the Bills will be taking on the Chicago Bears on Saturday at 1 p.m. as well. That's strange. Yeah, Saturday at 1 p.m. So 2 games going on Saturday at 1 p.m., which I find a little strange. But 2 games going on at 1 p.m. I did think it was 1. I don't know why I thought it was 1. But 2 games going on at 1 p.m. this Saturday. Let's give our game balls out to the players of the game, starting with the first one on offense. And the player on offense that I'm giving the game ball out to is Dawson Knox. While many would say that it has to be Josh Allen, I do like that what Dawson Knox did for the team. I really liked his ability to be a pass catcher in this game, as well as his tackling in the game as well. Really good things that I saw out of Dawson, and he's been an asset for the Bills for the past 2 weeks, and I think that his numbers are only going to get better as the season goes on. And I think that he's going to be another asset for the Bills, especially in the playoffs, and another target for Josh Allen in the playoffs. As for on defense, I got to give a game ball out to, in my opinion, I'm going to give it out to Tre'Davious White. And while many people would say that it has to go out to somebody else, I really do like what I saw out of Tre'Davious White, especially with him being injured, coming back, and his ability to cover the number 1 receiver in Tyreek Hill. Keep him under 100 yards, which has not been the case for Buffalo over the last few weeks. Seems like the number 1 receiver has made an impact on the game each week, keeping him down to 9 catches for 69 yards and a touchdown. So I really do like what I saw from Tre'Davious White in this game, and I think he's only going to get better as the season comes along. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on all social media platforms. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter, as well as on our website, GoBillsPodcast.com. Don't forget to go over to the GoBillsPodcast.com website, and you can find all our information on our latest news updates, as well as our upcoming schedule throughout the week. You can see when we're going to be going live, whether we're going live on YouTube, Instagram, or other different platforms that we will be going live on. You'll also see who we will be collaborating with each week, as well as there's a little bit of content. You'll learn more about myself as well as my family. So you can tune into all that information on our new website, GoBillsPodcast.com. This has been another edition of the Go Bills Podcast, and we will see you Wednesday for our pregame show on YouTube. That'll be starting at 8 p.m., and we'll discuss the keys to the game, how the Bills can beat the Chicago Bears, and we'll also discuss the injury reports for both teams, as well as any updated news that's going on throughout the week in Buffalo. This has been the Go Bills Podcast, and we will see you again next time for another edition of the Go Bills Podcast. As always, Go Bills.